What's the most awkward thing you had to quickly explain to a stranger? That the little 3-year-old girl crying and yelling "you're not daddy" was my niece and I really wanted my sister to come back from the restroom right then. Happily married with kids. While at the grocery store, we ran into one of my 5-year-old daughter's friend's family. My daughter then told the friend's mom that she and I should get married because she was nicer than her mom. Awkwardness ensues. Turns out my daughter wanted another sister but she didn't want a baby around the house. Easiest way to do that in her mind was for me to marry another lady with a kid, so her friend could be her sister. Kid logic. Why I, a mid-late 20s guy, was picking up a 13-year-old girl from school. She's my sister. The resemblance is blatantly obvious, but one of the mums there still felt the need to make a scene. Oh man. Mid-20s woman here with 3 siblings in elementary and middle school. Whenever I take them anywhere I get comments about the younger two like AWW your sons are so cute, everyone assumes my sister is just my friend or something. Jokes on them. They're my stepbrothers, the resemblance is coincidental. My sister is the only one that I'm actually related to. I look really young, and most people think I'm around 18 or younger. I'm 28. The older they are, the younger I look to them. Anyway, so I was cashing out a customer and he was telling me that he felt old because he just dropped his oldest off at college. So I told him, yeah, I know how you feel. My son just started kindergarten. And he got this horrified look on his face. I was confused for a second before I realized that he probably thinks I got knocked up when I was 12 or so. I told him that I'm 28 and he looked so relieved and started laughing at the mistake. This one night my friends and I went out for drinks and were walking down my street early in the morning. When we got to my building's parking lot I noticed that there was a car was parked at the front and it looked like my mother's car. So I crept from behind the car until I got to the driver's side window and pressed my face hard against the window and scared the poor old lady. Man, she screamed so loud, but after I explained myself she was so cute and couldn't stop laughing. My wife has a hyphenated first name. Sometimes I call her by name A, sometimes by name B, which has led to some awkward situations of me explaining that I do not have 2 wives. To further complicate things, she also has 2 email addresses, one for each name. That doesn't look sketchy at all on my phone since they show up as 2 different contacts. I never knew I wanted this until now. Own that crap, dude. Awesome inside joke with her. You get all the fun of a public affair without being a scumbag. My ex-girlfriend had a meltdown in a mall parking lot. The hairstylist she went to cut her hair shorter than she wanted. She started crying and screaming once we reached her car. People kept coming up to her asking if I was bothering her or if I was abusing her. I quickly had to explain the situation to 5 different people while trying to calm her down. It was awkward. There's 2 alternative ways I can think to deal with this without having to explain the whole story. 1. The quick and dirty. We just broke up. 2. Say something incredibly awkward to make the good Samaritans want to walk away immediately. We like peeing on each other and she just found out her vagina has stopped working. Many years ago, when I was a student at university, I came back from a lecture early to find my ex-girlfriend in a mid-suicide attempt, cutting wrists, in my room. After staring, blinking at the scene in disbelief for a few seconds, I took the knife off her, but she made a run for it and legged it out of the door. I was staying in the uni halls of residence. I don't know what the US version is, dorms, so this meant she was now fleeing, bleeding and semi-naked, down a corridor in a heavily populated building. She turned a corner shouting "No, leave me alone" right into a group of 5 or 6 rugby player type of guys. I came sprinting round the same corner yelling for her to stop and abruptly came to a halt when I saw the looks on their faces. It was then that I realized I was stood there, covered in blood, holding a bloody knife yelling at a screaming and sobbing girl, also covered in blood. I saw my life flash before my eyes as they advanced on me. So that, and then BSP. Epilogue. A bit of fast talking and pointing at her wrists whilst dropping the knife got them to see reason. The girl was okay. She needed some hospital treatment, not just for the injuries. I'll never know for sure if it was a serious attempt or if it was a cry for help, but she got herself some care and she bears me no grudges. I wish I could say the same for her family. Buddy was handing me change as we were pulling up to the drive-thru, but we fumbled and dropped it all on the driver's side. Well, I couldn't reach down cause of the steering wheel, so when we pulled up my buddy was bent over my lap grunting to reach a quarter. Choo choo. I explained bukkake to a 45-year-old woman in the middle of a busy office. She asked about it following a conversation she had with her daughter, who didn't want to tell her. Her co-workers weren't exactly sure what it meant either, so it was left to me to explain what her daughter's been getting up to. When a mummy and a daddy 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 had to explain to a woman who was about to call the police that the cigarette I was rolling was not crack, and when I told her that's not how crack was smoked, she gave me a horrified look then took off. I was maybe 13. My dad's best friend had a really cute son who was around 14. We were discussing the important truths of life, and he tells me that his older brother had informed him that virgins don't bleed. Basically, he thought that if a girl had begun having periods, that meant her cherry had been popped. I could not let him go around believing that, but I was mortified to realize that not only do boys know about periods, this object of my affection knew. The horror. So I had to explain the whole process. He kept saying, "Are you telling me that I am wrong?" I still feel embarrassed just remembering that. Well, I mean, he was wrong. You just tried to save him from sounding like an idiot. My 4-year-old son gets really nervous before his violin lessons. He's always afraid of making mistakes, no matter how often tell him it's okay. One day, he didn't want to go in, so, to encourage him, I tried bribery. I said, "I tell you what, as long as you go in there and do your best, we'll get McDonald's after." So, he went in, and, for a while, it was going well, until his teacher gave him a new song. Suddenly, he got really nervous and stopped playing. His teacher tried to gently coax him, but he shook his head like he was terrified of something. And, since he always looks to his father when he's nervous, it definitely looked to everyone else like that something was me. Then he cried, "My dada says if I make a mistake I don't get to eat." That's so cute but so sad. I once held the bathroom door open for another guy only to realize it was a bathroom for one person. I think he thought I was wanting something exotic. Step into my office. My wife was busy, so I brought my 14-year-old daughter to a charity event. Sat at my company's table for the dinner. One of the new board members, whom I had talked to twice, asked my daughter, "How long have you known Adeline?" She obviously was figuring my daughter for a new girlfriend. That was awkward. It was also awkward to realize that my 14-year-old with her hair up and in a long dress looked like an adult to strangers. When I was probably about 15, I was at a party with my dad and mom, who I don't look like at all. The host had met all three of us, but when my mom was gone for a minute, he introduced my dad and I to others as Bill and his wife. Incredibly uncomfortable. Why I was profusely bleeding out my butt while hiking up a hill. Sorry, he likes to be tickled. My toddler was running up to people and asking them to tickle him. This was before the stranger danger phase. When I was 8, my best friend decided it would be funny to run up to people, yell Teddy and hug them. Good way to get punched. A dear friend of mine was traveling from a house outside the city where she'd been staying for the weekend into London to attend a lecture at her university. She was bringing her dog and a large casserole dish back with her. She was super late for her lecture and realized that she didn't have time to go home to drop off the dog and dish, so she concocted a plan with her mum. The university was a few stops further down the line than her house in London, so the mum would be waiting on the platform for the train to roll in, would take the dog and dish from my friend, and then my friend would hop back onto the train and continue on to her university. The problem was that the mum didn't make it in time, so when the train pulled into the station at which the mum was meant to be waiting, my friend hopped off the train, thrust the dog and dish into the arms of a waiting stranger, briefly asked them to wait a few minutes and that a woman would come to pick up the dog and dish, and then hop back onto the train. Miraculously, the stranger did as he was asked and didn't wander off with the spaniel and casserole dish. This girl is full of stories like this. A friend and I were staying in Amsterdam. We had a hotel in the red light district, so we were using the presence of brothels to indicate we were near the hotel. We were trying to find our way back. While waiting at traffic lights, I noticed a brothel and said to my friend, look, prostitutes. We're nearly there. A guy who was also waiting at the traffic lights gave us a look of disgust. The only thing I could think to say was, you gotta understand the context. Even if it was that it's Amsterdam, I feel like that's one of the not so strange things that happened there. Former 911 dispatcher had to explain to a guy that his wife wasn't missing. She hadn't vanished into some dangerous situation. She'd just left him in that situation. We aren't going to give him her location, what she said, etc. When we did get in touch with her and found out she'd left and was fleeing from him, that resolved the issue from a law enforcement standpoint, i.e. his report that she was missing and in danger. So, the only thing told to him is she is not missing. Her whereabouts are known. This was not something he took well, but there is nothing we can do. The cops can't and shouldn't make a wife stay with a husband, and people can decide to not speak to each other anymore, or be around them. From our standpoint, the issue was resolved. He thought someone was missing. They were, in fact, not. We cannot do anything else. My now ex and I decided to go to the local forest park one lovely summer's day. I took him to see the Fool's Gold Stream. It's filled with sparkling golden schist pieces, and as we were bending down to get some out, I took a full bunch of nettles to the arse, right through my cotton trousers. My butt was on fire. Thankfully, nature in her wisdom always makes sure nettle and dock leaves grow beside each other, so my boyf grabbed a bunch of docks. We walked over to the picnic table by the stream. I docked the trousers, leaned on the table, and he got to work rubbing my sore red ass. Of course, at that exact moment, a picnicking family with 4 young kids walks around the path, sees us and stop dead in their tracks. There was a brief yet seemingly eternal moment where we all looked at each other. I just said, "Alright, nice day for a nettle to the bum," and they noped the frick out of there without a word. I think this is the most Irish thing I've ever read. I didn't really explain it, I just let it happen. When my fiancée, now wife, moved in, I was helping with all the move out stuff. So I took the router to return to the UPS store because they have some deal where UPS deals with it. She had took over a guy friend's lease when she moved into the apartment, and what I didn't know is that the internet was still in his name and she just paid the bill. So the kid behind the counter goes, "Do you have a confirmation number?" And I go, "I think it's this. I'm not sure. I'm returning it for my fiancé." He plugs the number in and goes, "Richard?" Yup. I just figure it was easier to let him think I was gay than explain it. I had to explain to a lady that no, my boyfriend is not a pedophile. I just look young and he's older than I am. I had to show her my id to prevent her from calling the police. I was trying on my friend's bra alone in her bedroom when her roommates walked in. Halloween was right around the corner, but that's not really what your mind jumps to when you open the door to find a strange man wearing your friend's bra and checking himself out in the mirror. We're all best friends now, and I look damned good. I had to constantly explain my dad's weird behavior. He was 60 and had early onset Alzheimer's and he loved kids. So he would stop and tousle their hair and tell them silly jokes that didn't make sense. And he came off as a creepy old guy. My mom hated taking him out in public because she was mortified by him and was so worried someone would call the cops. I started taking him out and just being honest. Most people were really good about it once I explained he wasn't a perv, just a guy who couldn't remember appropriate social skills. Later on he forgot our relationship and started to talk to me and treat me like a girlfriend. That got explained a lot too. He knew who I was, just not that I was his daughter. Department Christmas Party, 2009. I was meeting my dept head's wife and daughter for the first time. Everything was going well. Everyone on their best behavior. After a few minutes, the boss's 7-year-old daughter proceeded to show me her new charm bracelet. She was very proud of it. I immediately recognized the dangling charm as a symbol for Caucasian wives who enjoy sex with black men. I'm a guy. I watch P. Sue me. Q measured questions from me. That looks like sterling silver. Very nice. Where did you get it? Wife. Answering. Oh, I found it in a parking lot. On the pavement. But she loved it. Me. Do you know what the symbol means? Daughter. Number. But it's pretty. Me. Yes. It's lovely. You're right. So shiny. Thankfully, the wife started to recognize I was a bit too invested in the charm bracelet. I caught her eye and gave her a quick panic look and an let's talk over there tilt of the head. We went back to polite convo and I excused myself after a minute. Then I realized I'd painted myself into a corner. When she eventually sought me out, I couldn't very well tell my boss's wife, oh, that's for white women and the cuckold lifestyle who only have sex with black men and keep their husbands in varying degrees of chastity. Because, duh. But before I could come up with a polite way of defining cuckoldry, the wife tapped me on the shoulder. What's wrong? Oh, it's the charm on the bracelet. It means something bad. She asked me what it meant and I simply bailed on the truth. Told her a long, convoluted story about how my great aunt from Poland was a Leninist and so I just happened to know that was the symbol American communists used to alert each other back in the day, so they could form secret cabals and eventually convert all of America to a communist state. Thank God we were in Texas, because folks around here still fear communism like it's 1959. She thanked me profusely and almost sprinted across the room to her baffled daughter. This is the best way to deal with that situation. When I was doing a paper round, I was just walking back up this guy's driveway, and he asked, "Can I help you?" Awkward 15-year-old me just replied, "No, I'm good thanks," and tootled back up his drive a little longer. When I realized what he meant, I turned around and said something along the lines of, "Sir, I'm delivering near Spappus," and I thought how very offering to help and ran off. I'm pretty good at being awkward. My daughter is Asian, and when she was an infant, she has Mongolian spots on her butt and lower back. If you are unfamiliar with them, they look like dark bruises. We printed out articles about Mongolian spots in Asian infants to show to the daycare, church, nursery workers etc. so nobody would think we had been beating a baby. My son, who is part Mexican, had one, too, and I had to explain it a few times. They really do look like bruises. I run a children's ministry at my church. We do skits for the kids so they can better grasp the stories. I usually end up playing the bad guy, but the kids have just assumed I'm playing Satan. So now anytime I walk in the room, they all yell, "Hi Satan." So this one time at Walmart, this kid from across the store sees me and yells, at the top of his lungs, "Look mom, I tease Satan." This one made me laugh the hardest. Oh, I love it. My at the time 20-year girlfriend, now wife, had just gotten her wisdom teeth removed and it was fairly rough on her. Had to crack the teeth and pull pieces out, etc. She was pretty banged up for a few days. Of course, I knew why she looked like that, so I didn't think anything of taking her to the mall. Death glares. Death glares everywhere. Or, so she tells me now. I was too oblivious to notice. Thank God. Something like this happened to my nan. She was playing with my uncle who accidentally head-butted her and gave her a black eye. Every time she went out with my granddad till it healed, she had people asking if he'd hit her and gave him dirty looks. One of my neighbors' bunny died and she asked me and my dad if we can bury it in the local park. So we wait till midnight, take a black bin bag and a shovel and head out. You should probably note that we are two Russians living in the West. So my dad starts digging while I watch. This poor woman sees us. We were to the side of a footpath and just freezes. I tried to explain but she just screamed and ran away. I don't think the accent helped. Don't worry comrade, it is dead bunny. Why I was hiding underneath their car in a dark parking garage late at night. My field hockey team was staying in the hotel attached to it and we were bored, so we decided to play hide and seek over there. I just assumed the car was left overnight. 5 minutes after crawling under it, a very nicely dressed couple comes out of the stairwell and just stops. I popped up and pretty much sputtered, "Holy crap, apologies, hide and seek," and just booked it. Completely stupid on my part and of course pretty rude to climb under another's vehicle to begin with. Being an adult and lurking in dark corners of a parking garage at night sounds like the absolute perfect way to get stabbed, shot, maced, assaulted. At a gay cocktail party for which I was a guest pianist, a straight guy came into the reserved room of the restaurant where it was being held to request a specific song for me to play. He stood there, looking around, and said, with so many good looking guys, "Where are the girls?" I said, "This is a private party, you might want to look elsewhere." When one of the hosts came over and asked if he'd like a drink and hot appetizers, The guy decided to stay, joined the party, and had an excellent time. I used to teach an after-school program at a elementary middle school. While walking on my way to class, this little girl who is my smallest and youngest student catches up to me and starts walking beside me through the hall. I'm a 6'4" male, so about 10 seconds later a teacher briskly walks up behind my student, takes her hand, and really quietly asks if she knows this man. I know she was doing the right thing, but it still kind of sucks when you care about kids so much you decide to teach them, and someone else walks up and mildly implies you might be a child abductor. Mildly. I'm browsing Reddit on my phone. I am not recording a video of you to secretly send to the government. I don't work them and I'm not responsible for the paranoia you feel and the voices you hear. Calm down, please. Myself and my GF at the time, we hang out in the parking lot next to my house. It's about 10 PM and it just got dark outside on this summer night. We started to play fight, which ended up with her in the grass on her back being tickled by me on top of her. She is screaming and laughing bloody murder. A car is driving past and slams on the brakes. A big 250 pounds guy jumps out the car. This guy looks like he could crush me in an instant. He gets out and starts running over to us yelling, "Are you okay?" I instantly jump up off of her and start backing away, which probably looked even worse. I try to explain but the guy isn't asking me crap. So my GF jumps to her feet and grabs me and explained the whole thing. The guy laughed and got back in his car and drive away. TLDR, GF and I were playing. Guy thought I was trying to rape her or something. Almost got my butt beat. What a good guy. I was on an elevator going to the 95th floor of the John Hancock Tower in Chicago. Standing behind her a guy and his girlfriend, and not even 2 floors up he grabs her butt, but he grabbed her left cheek which was closest to me. She looked at me and smiled and I freaked out in a stuttering mess trying to explain it wasn't me when all of a sudden the guy breaks out into laughter. Looking back now, I don't think that guy realized that his girl smiled at me. LOL. Sounds like they were trying to get you in as a guest star. That my comments to his 16-year-old daughter, "It's nice to see you wearing clothes finally," was because I had only seen her at my kids' neighborhood swim team practices in a swimsuit for the last 5 years. That was some next level awkward. I'm surprised. Next level awkward. Freaking heck. Walking with my friend when a fight breaks out, so he put his bag next to me. So as a joke I pick it up and break into a jog for about 10 meters before giving it back. But some woman thought I was stealing it, so she yells, "I have this recorded," as she holds a flip phone in her hand while her child was standing next to her, leading to me and my friend trying to explain that we were friends and I in fact was not stealing his bag. Took about 10 minutes for this woman to cool down. Grammar. We have a really common type of minivan in the most basic color. I went into a grocery store to grab a few things while my husband and kids waited in our van. When I came out I walked straight across with my head down and got in the van. Then noticed how spotless the floor mats were. Then looked up and there was a strange man in the driver's seat. I yelled, "Oh god, this isn't my van." I then realized mine was 2 parking spots over, with my husband and kids inside killing themselves laughing. They watched the whole thing. I had to explain why I was building a nest and putting a cold dead fish in it, and a couple of chicken eggs, by the lake in the park. I just told them it's for art, which it was, kinda. Before that, I had to explain to the fishmonger why I wanted a whole fish with everything still attached, because he was worried I was going to do something weird with it, which I was, to be fair. I went to a butcher once and asked them to donate a leg of ham for my short film about a possessed leg of ham. They thought I was weird, but I got the ham and credited their shop. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.